superintendents are now being asked to do is to identify one statement of interest that is to be the priority for a particular school district. And you can see on the second page it says by August 15, the direction is that the superintendent will identify that priority. Well, I can assure you I'm not going to identify that priority on my own without a lot of guidance and input from not only the school committee, but I'm interested from the Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, and the building committees in terms of their view. And the statement that is of most interest to me is in that second to last paragraph, where it says that this prioritization is consistent with a former DOE policy of prioritizing one project per district. That's not been my experience, and I don't think that that's the experience. I'm going back to the former school building authority process, where communities had several projects ongoing at any one time under consideration, even in North Reading, where we were being considered at one point for a three-part project: the little school, the hood school, and the bachelor school. So I'm not quite sure what that means. I haven't had an opportunity to speak with Catherine Craven about this. However, it does concern me, because this is a new wrinkle. We submitted in North Reading 3 statements of interest in a very legitimate way, followed the process that was outlined. I know many of us attended those kinds of workshops, and now to be asked to identify that priority is of concern. My personal feeling is that the bachelor school is a very unique situation. It's a project that is completed. It's a project that we have presented to the school building authority by a statement of interest, and also through a meeting with MSBA, seeking some feedback on what to do with the batch problem. We have not been told we cannot submit a project. And so my recommendation would be that we should pursue reimbursement at whatever level for the bachelor school. However, the priority of need from my standpoint as we move forward clearly remains on secondary schools. We need the help of MSBA to move forward around solving the problem of the secondary schools. We have 10 modular classrooms that have been put on the middle school. We have 6 modular classrooms that are on the high school, plus a modular cafeteria. If you go back to the 1989 renovation of the high school, you will see that in the ed specifications for that project, the maximum enrollment was designed for 540 students. We will open next year with 760 to 780 students, and the number will continue to grow. Hence the requirement for the modular classrooms. I believe that in addition to enrollment issues, there are a number of problems with the inability to provide program. Science labs are in short supply at our high school, where we have 1 chemistry lab, and we're teaching 10 or more sections of chemistry. So we're rotating students in and out of that room all of the time. It's not an appropriate facility. We have problems with our fine arts program. We have problems with our drama program, our technology. Electrical capacity of the high school is maximized. We cannot add additional technology without adding additional power. In the capital budget request that the school department will submit for next year, we are beginning to outline a series of immediate capital needs, starting with the septic system that needs to be renovated and replaced at both the high school and the middle school. And so on into the foreseeable future, these projects, from HVAC to electrical to plumbing issues to septic issues, in addition to space, need to be solved. And my personal feeling, and again in concert with the secondary building committee, is that the priority for the future would be our secondary needs. I do feel that we should at the same time pursue the bachelor school for discard that in any way. And so whatever decision is ultimately made, I think the priority ought to be the secondary schools, but at the same time, to be very aggressive in seeking reimbursement at some level for the bachelor school college.
Thank you. Where are we going to go from here? Yeah, sure.
You get a checkbook, Chuck?
You know, in reading through the letter and reading the article in the Globe, Sunday's Globe, and also some other articles that come out over the past period of time as we're getting down to the wire, the new school board assistance program needs to get off the ground. It's not funded to the point of what everybody's asking for. And it appeared, at least to me, that a lot of communities have put in and are looking for funding for smaller projects instead of complete schools, repairs to roofs, repairs to septic systems, things like that. And I'm beginning to wonder if, in fact, the state, in the process of getting this program off the ground, isn't going to lean toward those as some of the priorities over new buildings. Just wondering if you've heard anything in that area that
It is
our
actually,
communications with superintendents and other associates.
in talking with my colleagues, other superintendents, I think that most school districts have been very aggressive in looking closely at their physical plant needs. And that has ranged from the boiler projects, the roof projects, to a number of school districts looking for major reconstruction and or totally new buildings, ranging from, if you look at Reading, for example, although Reading High School was completed at the tail end of the last reimbursement program, it is a major addition and reconstruction of that facility. Newton South High School, Newton North High School is another example of a school that is, I believe, over $100 million for a major rehaul, which for all intents and purposes will end up as a new building. There are a number of school districts in our immediate area that will be looking for projects at the high end, from Tewksbury to Billerica to Methuen. Recently heard about North Andover, also looking for projects as well. Middleton will be looking for a project. Georgetown, all of them will be looking for major reconstruction, additions, and or new construction.
I think one of the things that I saw, that same thing with the number of projects for roofs, heating systems, complete HVAC systems, etc. And I have no inside information, but you look at that and you say they're probably going to try to fill as many of those as they can, and then sprinkle the big projects here and there, and then say, okay, the projects, we got the program off and running now. Now we can look at some of these other things, because the majority of the submissions were those types of projects. So if that's the majority, you got to be thinking they're going to look at those, more closely.
Well, you know, when I went into that meeting with Captain Craven, I was very skeptical about getting a bachelor appointment. But when I left that meeting, I was completely turned around. It seemed that there were two things that came out of it. One was that what we spent and what we got for the bachelor school was very much in line with what this new program is all about. They don't want to pay for drills and swimming pools and things like that. And her comment about our cost per square foot was well within the range that evidently the experts that are working on this had set as a target. And she seemed to be well behind it, although she did caution us that she was one vote in a board of, I don't know, 8. So I guess I look at it as that if the money's gonna be tight, it appears to be tight, there's a lot of different communities looking for this money. If we have an opportunity to capture the bachelor, a good opportunity, then that ought to be our priority. One is it does have an impact on the tax rate in terms of our overhead. Put this whole project behind us, and even if we got state aid for a new high school, which was what, a $90 million project in that ballgame, we've got to still sell an override, 45 million or more. And under the current circumstances, what we just went through in April, trying to get an override passed to fund our operating budgets, seems to me we've got to get that particular problem behind us too. So I would be leaning to support prioritizing the bachelor school as number one. And I'm beginning to wonder if we shouldn't be submitting something other than a brand new school plan, something more along the lines of adding to, doing the necessary repairs to some of to the building, both the high school and the middle school, to see if we can get in the queue, but getting some of that done. I think that's my current thinking.
Just to respond, Bob, to your last statement, let me be clear. We have not submitted to MSBA a specific plan. The statement of interest only outlines what we feel are the identified needs, from enrollment to the physical condition of the building, health and safety issues, program needs, and so forth. In fact, MSBA was very clear. Do not indicate at all what your solution is. If North Reading or any district is selected, the next step, the way the regulations are detailed, would be for MSBA, if we're selected, to work with us to determine what that solution is. And that's why I'm separating the bachelor school out from the secondary. Of those two statements of interest, there's no work for MSBA to do other than to write a check. In fact, they determined that when they came out with their engineers. They weren't reading our statement of interest and trying to evaluate it, to judge it, because the project is done. And that's why I'm arguing that North Reading is in, unlike most, 99% of all of those statement of interest that have been submitted, North Reading is in a very unique position because it completed a project outside of MSBA regulations and is now going to, or proposing to go to MSBA to seek reimbursement, consideration. But there's no, MSBA is not going to come in and say, well, we think you ought to have done, you should have done something else. The project is done. And it's a question of whether or not they're willing to give any consideration. The other two statement of interest, the middle school and the high school, if selected, all that would mean is that MSBA that would then come to us in a more detailed analysis, even more so than what was done 3 weeks ago, and drill down into possible solutions. Now, here in North Reading, we've done some work on that, but there's no indication that MSBA, if we were selected, would simply agree that that's what the solution is.
You know, I mean, this ends up to be a kind of difficult question, and because of the feedback you get from her, you're really deciding which one, you know, is really a tough call in that way. It seems to me that you got on one level, okay, if you don't do the badge, this is the chance to do the badge. It seems to me, and there's no way to know for sure, but it seems to me that if you don't do the badge now, it's dead. You won't be able to raise it later on. Okay, it's unlikely you will raise it later on. So that's the first call, is that. Okay, but the second call is